Ten cents is gifted an armor as you'll find the entire city. Is this new? We defended Defiance Bay back in Duke Hatred's day. I think we've seen that before. No, here's the armor.
Nothing will slip past me.
Tongues of flame lick at the forge, hissing with smoke, as hot as a dragon's breath. I hope I get promoted to Justiciar soon. I thought it was just a car. It's actually Justiciar. Won't be long before we're from all my head. Yeah, I'll say the same thing. Tongs, hardies, hammers, fullers, and punch tools hang from the wall. They feel heavy and sturdy, but their flame-darkened surfaces testify to frequent use.
If this is about the breastplates, I already told Cleaver they won't be repaired till next week.
The dwarf bustles between the sweltering forge fire and the work table. He wipes one muscle-knotted arm across his brow. What do you do here?
I'm a forge master. I'm a master smith for the Crucible Knights. But the way I see it, I'm also keeping up with our old traditions. The first members of our order were smiths. Nowadays, most everyone's a professional soldier. I suppose it's to be expected, but I think it's important we keep up with our roots, too.
Tell me about the knights.
We were all smiths back in Hodrick's day, though I'm about the only one here who still gets his hands dirty. We're a fearsome fighting force, though these days I think Cleaver takes more pride in our parade formations.
He thinks himself a progressive man, but he is obsessed with soul lineages and connections to the Deerwoods, heroes of old. He picks up his hammer again. Other than Dundred Row, who really knows about any of that, though? What do you do here?
I'm a forge master.
Oh.
I'm a master smith for the Crucible Knights. But the way I see it, I'm also...
That's it, huh? Thick grime cakes the bottom of the tub. The towel hanging from the side gives off an awful stench. This is where they take their showers, and then
steady does it.
oh, that's a library. We're probably gonna pick that up. Yeah, it's not stealing. Curran, a cipher dully appointed and employed by Dundred Row, does hereby certify that novitiate A.M. Penhelm has found to have a soul free of any subversive influences or tainted essence. The scroll is stamped with the seal of Dundred Row and signed by both Penhelm and Curran. So there's nothing bad happening with his soul. With his soul reading. Well, I guess we can threaten him using that, maybe that we're gonna forge it or something. I don't know. It's like, what do they expect us to do at this point? Oh, if I can prove Penhelm's forgery. I guess we need to go to the actual Dundred Row and then check that. This is a record of active patrols and reported crimes in Andra's gift. The latter far outnumbered the former. We need to deal with Heritage Hill. The Justiciar's gaze flicks over to you, briefly before returning to novitiates gathered in the training area. If this is about patrols, my novitiates are already stretched to their limits. Between the refugee influx and the mess at Heritage Hill, I simply don't have any units to spare. After a pause, she looks over at you again. I'm sorry, was there something else you need? What do you do here? I'm in charge of the keep's novitiates. I'm responsible for their training and patrol assignments. She nods at the group gathered in the training room. They're good soldiers, and they've been quick to adapt to new challenges. If there's nothing else, I must attend to my duties. Is something wrong with Heritage Hill? She lowers her voice. What isn't wrong is the real question. A whole district of walking, flesh-eating corpses. We sealed the area 2 months ago, just after I lost one of my finest commanders there. And yet this is the second guard rotation to disappear. There are already enough rumors about the place floating around the keep without my soldiers whispering about these disappearances. She shakes her head. I'd just as soon abandon the district, but if those monsters should find a way out. Tell me about Heritage Hill. It used to be one of the most prestigious districts in Defiance Bay, but a few months ago, the residents all went mad, started eating each other, and anything else that had the bad luck to wander into the district. I've never seen anything like it. Now every novitiate that stands guard there, every one that comes back, anyway, talks of the stench of the grave and the groans of unspeakable horrors. She holds up one plate-clad finger. The why and the how are questions for the animancers. I've sealed the district in hopes of containing whatever happened there. It seems to be working for now. You said earlier that something was wrong with Heritage Hill? Yeah, I could look into it. She steps back in regards to you. After what I've just told you, you want to go to Heritage Hill? I've lost trained soldiers there. Why should I let anyone in? It seems like you could use the help. If you're so eager to rush to your death, I won't stop you. She quietly looks on to the novitiates. And if you're somehow able to put a stop to this, you've got my permission to enter Heritage Hill. I'll send word to the guards at the gate. Cool. Oh, this is the praying room. This is a symbol of Abaddon, a colossal smithing hammer imposed over a circular gear. It's smooth and bright with buffing oils. Something to put on the altar, huh? Interesting.
Nice and slow.
Maybe if you put your weapon there, something happens. Let's try it. Maybe you have to leave it for a while. I don't know. Well, I'm not using that weapon anyway. We can just leave it there. Okay. But I don't know. Maybe later. Because I don't want it to be gone. In case I want to keep it. Just go to war.
We just don't have the manpower.
Hey. Huh?
This document estimates the flow of refugee over the past 3 months. The figures grow exponentially by the week. This idiot cost me the rest of the Eorn. His recent actions have led to the death of a Knight of the Crucible. It requests reporting any information to Justiciar Outmore. It is signed Commander Cliver. Then where did he kill? Did we kill Eorn? No, Yevgeny. Oh, he did go. Okay, out of the stash. Picked up the rest. I don't see it. Oh, okay. I should have talked to Commander Cliver about it, maybe? I don't know. Instead of talking to that first guy. I mean, he did give me money already, but maybe Commander Cliver would have given you more. This map shows the Androran surrounding Defiance Bay. Flags mark strategic access points to this city. Is there like no. There's a tooltip delay, but there's no timer for whenever you click on something before it disappears.
Refugees from every corner of the deal. The dozens getting them all riled up about animancy. At this rate, we'll need twice the soldiers to patrol Defiance Bay. Yes? Can I help you with something?
Commander Cliver stands in front of a massive table, studying a map. His expression is set in a grim frown. He opens his mouth to say something to one of his men, but he follows the soldier's gaze over his shoulder to you. Why don't you have enough soldiers?
Fleetbreaker Castle. The High Justice has summoned almost half of my novitiates and more of my justiciars to a keep on the other side of New Hailmar. It's not for me to question the High Justice's orders, but it's left us short-handed. And mark me, we're just a couple sparks away from anarchy.
With so many newcomers, can't you just recruit more soldiers? More recruits means more training, which means more time from experienced soldiers that I don't have. You have turns away from you. Anyway, I hardly see how this is any of your concern, but if you've got the time to ask me about it, then perhaps you've got time to do something constructive. Forge Master Dunstan is working with an animancy scholar to build what we're calling Forge Knights, warriors that can patrol our streets without suffering fatigue, disobedience, or fear. Some agitator throws a rock at them, we don't have to worry about things getting out of hand. He's constructed the armor, but we need the scholar's research. Unfortunately, she hasn't been around the last few times my novitiates have checked. Viana lives with the rest of the scriveners out in Copper Lane, but I haven't had the soldier to spare at the moment. Go to the scrivener's dormitory and see if you can find her. When you get the research, just bring it to Dunstan. This is his area of expertise anyway. Once you brought him the research, he can sell you any arms and armor you have need. He forges and repairs all of our equipment. You won't find a more capable smith in Defiance Bay. Was there anything else I can do for you? What is that sound? Every now and then I hear like this high-pitched sound. I don't know where it's coming from. Could be from outside, I don't know. You're in charge of the Crucible Knights? Here in Defiance Bay, anyhow. The High Justice is the leader of our order, but he's currently stationed at Fleetbreaker Castle. My job is to oversee our forces in Defiance Bay, and to keep order of the Duke. Tell me about the Knights of the Crucible. He crosses his hands behind his back. We're the only professional army in Defiance Bay, or in the Dealwood for that matter. We defended the city in Hadrian's Day. We've improved our training since then, but Dunred Rowe can certify that many of our officers come from good Derwedan fighting stock. Now, we're responsible for patrolling the city and keeping the peace. With so many refugees pouring in from the countryside, that's become more important than ever. Unfortunately, that's earned us enemies, particularly among the dozens and some of the more enterprising families in Defiance Bay. What do the dozens have against you? He snorts. They're demagogues and troublemakers. They forget that Defiance Bay is one of the largest cities in the world and not some frontier outpost. Most of them are mercenaries on a good day and street thugs the rest of the time. Needless to say, they have no patience for law and order. Tell me about these enterprising families. How's Demimel, namely? They're one of the city's oldest noble family and its largest crime organization. The patriarch, Genmar, has been trying to take advantage of the turmoil to expand his operations. We've kept on top of him, and he hasn't been too happy about that. I see. Okay. Okay, so we're done with this place. Oh, I have something to say.
Strange place for a shrine to Abaddon, Crucible Keep. Maybe it made more sense at some point before it gathered all that dust. The only thing that makes the Crucible worship these days is the nobility, as far as I understand it.
I knew some soldiers who got recruited by the Knights after the war was over. They told me some about it. They get these young kids in there and they tell them about blacksmithing and about the revolution and about tradition. Talk about the golem like he created the Crucible Knights in his forge to go win their world's independence. Then they join, and it turns out all of those knights ever talks about is when are we going to get recognized as a real knighthood? When are we going to get our titles in our land? Their High Justice wants to be an earl. Says it's Abaddon's will. He's got a castle and army. You wonder how long he'll wait before he starts a war over it, saying Abaddon told him so. Seems like some members do still take their ideals so seriously. You see it with the older knights, some of them. They were taught differently. I feel for them, seeing all that slowly wearing away around them, with nothing to be done because the wrong people are in charge. Shame they don't have better people leading them. Oh, I think we read these. You see a young boy sneak up the ramp of a giant black sail ship, smile so wide it almost cracked his wind-whipped cheeks. The ship is almost empty, crew out drinking and celebrating their latest haul. The boy easily evades the drunken guards playing cards on the upper decks, trading stories and conquests the boy doesn't yet understand, and runs down the stairs to the decks below. The ship is silent below as he explores, just the gentle lap of the ocean against the hull and the muffled sound of excited feet running between boxes, stopping at each to peek inside. Another pair of footsteps and the boy jumps, hiding behind a collection of sacks The footsteps disappear, eventually, but the boy is asleep, and the ship roars into life as a drunken crew make a breakneck escape with an accidental stowaway. Hello, did you go pee-pee? You see a dwarf, matted beard slick with rain and dirt. His teeth are gritted in the wind, cloak drawn close. He walks in formation with 21 others, all bearing the same insignia, a mercenary company. They are all soaked with mud and filth, faces broken, shoulders fallen and soft. They do not speak as they move, gathered in an uneven circle. Their guide gestures, an officious-looking Orlan, directing them through the sodden streets towards a run-down building. The ceiling has partially caved in, and something about the too perfect door causes the party to stop. The Orlan barks at them, agitated. The mercenaries form a tight circle. Something is amiss. Then, hooves, gunfire. They have been betrayed. The fight is fast and efficient. Mercenary blood stains the cobblestone streets as the soldiers round up those remaining. A horse rears out of nowhere, kicking the dwarf in the side of the head. He falls instantly, blood seeping from his ear. The soldiers leave the mess, uncaring, their orders completed. The night falls, bodies stiffen. Rain has all but washed the street clean of the dwarf, as the dwarf slits open an eye, groaning. He staggers to his feet, hand on his head. He leaves his cloak on the ground, insignia greeting the sky, and slowly walks away. Okay, Yoshi, that's it. I think I already read this one earlier. You can't beg anymore. You got a lot. Good lord. Oh yeah, I already read this one. Okay. Yeah, you can all you want. You're not gonna get any more. It's crazy. I gave you those because I love you. So no more. No, you didn't even do anything, really. No, you can't be begging non-stop, Yoshi. You've been too spoiled. Now you're begging like non-stop. Nope. Changing from left to right doesn't help, Yoshi. Bye. 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 Not interested. Bye. I am not interested, girl. In 15 more minutes, you're gonna eat. You're about ready to eat, Yoshi. You know?
And a shrine to Margaret as well. Her clergy belongs there.
What is that around his portrait? Oh, because we
Yes,
selected
what?
it.
If doubts and curiosity play. I suspect the answers will seed more questions. I suspect the answers will seed more
Why is
questions.
it showing that I have more under that?
I suspect the answers will seed more questions. I suspect the...
Tell me about Ashfall. Durrance raises an eyebrow, then snorts. The amount you ask, you'd think you missed it more than I. Ashfall's stockpile of guns, explosives, and chemical fire sounds dangerous. Life is dangerous. You would know more than that, Durrance grunts. Flame is always hungry, and if you don't respect it, it kisses will fire your loins like a Defiance Bay copper corner whore. Durrance closes his eyes for a moment, as if thinking back. Some chambers were consumed, some destroyed, but Ashfall remains. Would be good to see it one day, if I return, he shrugs. I doubt I shall. Why's that? Durrance's eyes open and he glares at you. Some home is a mess of disappointments. That's why. Never make a place your home, Watcher. That is my advice to you. Keep to the road. A home is a curse. It will kill you to stay. And remember, the moment your foot exits its door, you'll never again measure up to the cathedral in your head. Durrance grunts, his hand tightening on his staff. You notice Ider's been listening. He speaks under his breath. Don't know if the problem is so much a cathedral in his head as bats in his bell tower. Sure, I'm sad, though, that I missed the party they must have thrown soon as he'd left. Now that's disappointment. Is that why you wonder? I don't expect you to understand, Watcher. You don't seem to value whatever home you are from either, and you are likely a stronger person for it. So if you ask the why of it, Watcher, the why that one doesn't have a cathedral to uphold the faith or remind one of it, I don't hate it. I don't despise it. I'm not some weeping cast-out fool. I wander because my faith and to spread it, he grunts. And I have many tens of years to go before Durrance's trials let me go. And I'll never get there while I'm bantering words with you. But then who's the fool? The fool who asks or the one who answers? He snorts. I tire of your wordplay. Let's do something.
I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
You don't dress like a priest, and your robes look as if they were touched by fire. Durrance grunts. And you don't fit any manner of watcher I've ever seen. Does it make you one now? He frowns and holds up his hand. Don't answer that. The robes, were you burnt? Durrance silent for a moment, studying you. There are many ways to honor Magrin. My robes, he looks down, then raises the frayed hems. They may not be cut of religious cloth, but they serve. They are reminders as well. Durrance shrugs. The cut of the cloth rarely matters except to a tailor, and colors are better found on banners than worn on the shoulders. These burnt robes feel more true to me than any garish trappings, so I keep them. That staff of yours, can you tell me about it? Durrance glances at his staff, then at you, and gives a crooked smile. Can't take your eyes from it, he chuckles. Durrance himself favored such knotted twists of heat. It was said, no shame in it. Why are those symbols carved onto your staff?
Carved? This staff is a history. Acts leave their mark. Some symbols fall into the ash, others blaze brighter.
What causes one to fade and another to rise?
Memory. Meaning. It's same as the memories in your head, perhaps more trustworthy. Random acts, things done with instinct. They may make lines burning briefly through the wood. Acts devised, planned, that stay with you. Symbols form and tell the story. It's like all memories, except the staff burns it true. When a thought's close, you see it clearer, brighter. Once you forget, they get buried. But like rings in wood, the etchings remain. Keeps me grounded. Also, it's a solid walking stick.
How is it only watchers can see the symbols? They are energies of the spirit, a channel for one's faith, he frowns. It's hard to say. There was a time when they glowed brighter, but now they are an aid in my work. Because the staff's markings stand out to a watcher, well, they sometimes identify themselves, he frowns, and sometimes they're blinded to the staff as well. A gift of Magrin, perhaps, to cloak itself from sight when one isn't looking for it. I don't see Magrin's symbol on your staff. Durance frowns. It is there, but marked different. I followed Durance, and in his teachings, there's but a single flame. You mean not Durance, you follow Magrin. Is that a typo? Is that an error? Or is he talking about himself? A simpler aspect. No, I think he's talking about Magrin. His frown deepens and he taps the edge of the staff. No, he's talking about Durance, because that's twice in a row he says Durance. Durance would meditate by focusing on a single flame and attach meaning to it. It was something to center the spirit for what was to come. For what was to come. The flame is intended to symbolize bringing punishment to another. Where does that sound? Every now and then and it is inscribed above the symbol of one being punished, marking them as always touched by Magrin.
I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
Yeah.
You see a small mobile stall covered with various goods and sundries. The woman is standing next to it, engaged in a lively discussion with a man who is holding one of the items she is selling. She has a light, friendly countenance and is trying to explain to the man how to control the item. He moves his hands around the top of it and mutters what sounds to be gibberish. After several attempts, he growls and thrusts the item back at her and starts to turn away. She stops him with a hand on his shoulder and holds the item up in front of his face. She traces a finger over the top of it, slowly and distinctly, repeating the same phrase over and over. The object suddenly lights up, shining as brightly as a torch. The man's face brightens as well, and he looks at her expectantly. She runs 2 fingers down the side of the object, and the light extinguishes. She hands it back to him and takes her place behind, guiding his hands as she whispers the words to say in his ear. Many failed attempts later, the man is able to light the object on every try. Elated, he hands it back to her, and as she makes her way behind the cart, while he searches for appropriate coin, she places the item on the shelf under the back side of the cart and replaces it with another from a small box next to it. Money and goods are exchanged, and she watches the man leave, satisfied with his purchase. Then she scans the crowd, looking for her next mark. You see a man preaching, his voice washing over a small crowd of eager acolytes. He speaks of tolerance and of self-reliance, of pain and beauty. The crowd nods, agreement clear on their transparent faces, and the preacher frowns. He continues, speaking of the importance of anger, the strength of hatred and frustration. His frown deepens as they nod, enraptured. He calls forth one of their number, an older man. It is safe, the preacher says. No harm will come to him. Smiling, the man walks forward into the preacher's embrace. A shudder rocks his frame as he pushes away. A thin stiletto through his chest. He falls onto the ground and does not breathe long. The crowd groans, confused. The preacher's face is dark with rage. Do not trust blindly, he says. Do not take the word at its face. Terrible things lie beneath, and you must be prepared before you see the truth. The crowd thins, the body removed, the bridge is silent. A few remain to listen. To them, he smiles. That's crazy. You can just murder somebody like that. Nice to see you. What's the Duke doing more? Why isn't the Duke doing more to help us? Business around here took a hit when Star Wars mine dried up. Why you read that? Welcome to the Ducal Palace.
Hail and well met.
The young woman wears a simple but well-tailored uniform. She watches the comings and goings around her with quiet attention. Any news to share? Or are you just here to see the Ducal Place? What is the Ducal Place? Palace. It's the seat of government here in Defiance Bay. This is where Duke Admeth Hatred declared freedom from Adrian rule from 150 years ago. She lowers her voice and grins. It's also a hotbed of regional politics. Trust me, the gossip here beats what you'll find in any tavern or brothel in the city. Durwood politics. It changes too quickly to be worth keeping up with. It's better to strike up conversation in the taverns than try to loiter conspicuously in the palace corridors. Looking for news? Who are you? I'm a page here at the palace. I deliver messages and run errands for the Duke and his advisors. The pay's not great, but I can't think of a better introduction to politics. What goes on in here? She laughs. Where to start? We've got meetings, public hearings, and ceremonies. And that's just the stuff that happens out in the open. She leans a little closer. This is where the Duke and his key advisors work, so there's always someone bartering for a favor. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to talk about that side of things. But if you want the official version, she clears her throat and gestures counterclockwise around the palace. We have a shrine devoted to Magran, official records, and chambers for public hearings and council meetings. Tell me about the shrine of Magran. It's a symbol of Magran's protection of Defiance Bay. She's represented the revolutionary spirit of the Deerwood ever since independence, and her involvement in creating the Godhammer bomb only affirmed her importance to us. She scratches her neck. That's also where the first of the sacred fires burn, but Ferga, the tranquil ardent, has had trouble keeping them lit. What kind of records are stored here? Mostly dull, official stuff, census counts, tax records, militia registers. Now I keep my distance. I got curious one day and got drafted into reshelving half of the records. She yawns. Worst day of my life. Is there a hearing going on now? Sure is. Duke Avar's been meeting with some of the city's leaders for weeks now, trying to figure out how to address the legacy. The whole business is terribly secret, though. I tried to sit in the gallery during the lunch break one day and got turned away. She sniffs. A lot of the talks concerning animancy, so there's good reason they're keeping the meetings behind a closed door. The legacy? Why is animancy so controversial? She laughs. Where to begin? Traditionalists think it's a crime against God. There's no question that poking around in souls is risky, but the more progressive elements believe it's only our only shot at restoring healthy births. And it doesn't help matters that animancy research often involves Olingwethan relics that were illegally looted from the ruins of Air Glanfath. She makes a quick twitching motion with her index and middle finger. So what do you think about animancy? Me? I think the real danger of animancy is confusing a real scholar with an expensive fake. We get a new case here every day. Some poor people in the Gift or Copper Lane who spent every copper they had on a miracle cure for their unborn child. It never works. She shakes her head. Breaks your heart, but there's usually nothing we can do for them. The legacy? Wadewood's legacy. That's what a lot of people call the rash of Hollowborn. The theory goes that it's punishment for meddling in animancy. What are Hollowborn? She raises an eyebrow. You really are fresh from the road. Hollowborn are children born without souls. They often don't live for very long, and those that do have generally received some kind of treatment from the animancers. Anyway, the legacy is what the politicians have all been whispering about lately. Tell me about the current Duke. That would be Eva Wolfgren. Don't let the title fool you, though. Our dukes have been elected since independence. Some find Duke Ava rather coarse. He's a frontier noble. Personally, I think a rough and tumble type is just what Defiance Bay needs. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Gotta go take care of Yoshi.